Hello, Battletech fans. Yes, it is the silly one back again for another bit of a recording, a bit of a stream, and a carry on, and I'm slotting things in left, right, and centre because the world wants me and it's busy and whatever else. So, this is a continuation from a deck I did a couple of months back, and I particularly like this deck because of the word that I love is synergy. Everything fits together, everything goes in, and what have you. Okay, so this is kind of the Jump Wolf deck. I love it because everything fits together, everything's lovely, and I went through it. And if you remember, there were 8 assembly, there were 7 munitions, there were 6 tactics. We had 3 war funds in there to go with the black market connections as our resource base. Our missions were really twofold, with forged mission orders and risky combat jump. The idea being that we can play a risky combat jump in order to boost our damage by 2 and the armor of our unit by our attack by 3 and our armor by 2. And the problem with this particular mission is that you have to roll a die, and on a 1 and 2 you basically screw yourself over. So the idea being that you can then jump your unit, which has to have jump surprisingly to play risky combat jump, and if it doesn't work you can play a forged mission order to get them out of the way, or at least resolve the damage so that your unit survives. Okay, and we played a number of very strong units in this case. We had the Corvus with 5 attack and 3 from our risky combat jump. This was actually quite powerful because it exceeded the magic 7. It dealt 8, and that was one of the great criteria because it dealt with our Huron warriors, it dealt with our wraiths, it dealt with those pesky 1/7 inner sphere units that have that 1 extra structure and survive. To support that, we had a couple of little dashing mechs in the Jenner 033, and they were there to just blitz them out and deal that little bit of extra damage if you wanted. Our fast unit was Dragonfly Prime 153, and with the risky combat jump that became a 356, which was enough to kill a Phantom for those people playing those Dash Wolf or Boom Wolf decks, and survive and trade quite favourably. We had some Wyvern 2Cs in there for a bit of durability, and the option to overheat for not only 7 with the overheat, but if you play a risky combat jump you can get 10 out of one of these, possibly why it's looking quite mean. We had a couple of Grendel Primes just for the speed. Note that a 165 overheat 2+2 can kill a resource on its own, and got to 10 if you actually managed to play a risky with it. We had our wonderful little Nobunori Nin, again a nice medium 176, which was good against those inner sphere mediums, and our Pouncer C, a 155. Nice little jumper again. You can get to 8 damage with this, and risky combat jump really works really well. And on top of that we had our Star Commander, which allowed us to re-roll our risky combat dice if we didn't have forged mission orders. Whether we went with 4 of those or we tweaked those a little to play with some Rystar mech warriors in order to recycle the missions, that was our choice. But this is a wolf deck, and at this point I feel like I should do an advert. So let's have a bit of fun. Are you fed up of playing Jump Wolf? Do you like the concept, but they just don't do it for you? Do you not like Wolf as a faction at all? Are you sick and tired of playing a 3-asset deck with AMT? If you are, then you need this deck. This is Jump Jaguar. There you go. Bit of fun. So, what are we going to do to this? We're going to butcher this. We're going to turn it around. We're going to turn it into a Smoke Jag jump deck, or the Smoke Jag, or the Jump Jaguar version, as we like to call it. So the first thing we need to do effectively is we need to get rid of our wolf units, which is basically in this case Pouncer Prime, sorry, not Pouncer Prime, Pouncer C, and all the other units are in fact incredibly generic. And you could say at this point, do you know what, we'll just put a load of Smoke Jag stuff in there. Great. I'm going to take this a step further and replace some of these units. So the Grendel Prime is going, the Nin is going, the Wyvern is going, and the Dragonfly and the Corvus. At the moment, I'm keeping my 2 Forged and my 2 Riskies. I'm going to bump up my Jenners to 6. I'm keeping my Star Commander, I'm keeping my Black Market, and I'm keeping my War Funds. I'm going to give myself an additional War Funds, and I'm going to take out 8 Assembly, which means I can now increase my munitions to 8, and I can increase my tactics to 8. So I'm running 8 munitions, 8 tactics, 4 War Funds, 2 Black Markets. So that's 8, 16, 24. You could take a War Funds out if you fancy. In fact, I might do. And add yourself a think tank if you want to. Preference. Maybe the think tank's probably worth it for a bit of flexibility if you need a politics or a logistics here and there. Or possibly even an assembly because you want to repair stuff. So, what are we going to add to this deck? Well, Crusade was quite nice to Smoke Jag because it added some nice Grendel units. The original Grendel Prime is an AMT, and the Grendel D is an A&T 164 overheat 2+2. But we have our Grendel B. This is basically a fast version of our Pouncer or our Corvus. The problem is it costs 6. So, hey ho, let's put 4 of those in. And if I want, I can go with the Grendel C. 162, Alpha 2, jump anti-missile. I might let's put 3 of those in. And maybe drop a couple of Jenners. Oops, no, wrong way. The reason being, it's a bit more durable than a Jenner. I like the dash ability of the Jenner to go flying out there and deal some damage with the dash, but it's quite fragile at a 3-3. Okay. Nice thing with this is 2 of these kill a Phantom. You could probably trade, preferably. Risky Combat, one of these kills a Phantom. The Grendel, you've got an Alpha Strike, but if not, you can just normally block and there's not enough Phantom damage to kill it. So, what else can we add? What else is Smoke Jag? There isn't a great deal, to be fair. We could add the Peregrine, a 055 jumper. And as we've got a focus of munitions and tactics, this works quite nicely. The problem with this is when you compare it to, let's put one in there, Pouncer C, it doesn't quite compare that favourably. Come on, here's Pouncer C, 155 jump, 4A, 4M, whereas our Peregrine is 4-1M, so less buyout, but it's a 0-5 and not a 1-5. And that 1-5 makes an awful lot of difference when you're playing against things like Risky Combat Jump, or your unit survives a battle. That 1 armor replenishes and it takes effectively 2 additional damage to kill it. So I'm not the greatest fan of the Peregrine at this point. You could run it if you want, and if you want to throw in something like an unopposed on that 5 base damage, it's really good. Again, with a Risky Combat Jump, you can get this to 8 and it kills a lot of nice Inner Sphere annoying units. However, we do have another option, and this is due to the Shadowcat Prime. A 164 medium, moderate even, jump long range 1, 4-3M. Not quite as much damage, but the durability for the cost, it just feels so much better. So we'll put 6 of those in. And whilst we're here, we also have the 5 cost 165 Shadowcat A. And given that, we'll put 4 of those in as well, just because we can. So I'll take the Peregrine out. We don't want that. We've got 4 Jenners, 4 Grendel Bs at 6, 4 Grendel Cs at 3, Shadowcats at 5, and the Shadowcats at 4. So you've got a nice curve of 3, 4s and 5s there. Is there anything else that you might add? Well, there is a little guy that you might think. Paul Moon. He's a nice little elemental, and they ride on the back of Omnimechs. Now, that sounds quite tempting, but our Jenna isn't an Omni-mech. It's just a mech. Our Grendels are Omnis. Our Shadowcats are Omnis. Okay. Our Peregrine, let's just put Paul in for the moment and refresh our Peregrine. Our Peregrine is not an Omni. So, do you put Paul Moon in? Not sure. Bang for buck, he's very good. One attack, one cost, 3 tactics. He's got 4. He's a 0-4-3 with AP and jump, and he gives the other battle armor a nice bonus. I think realistically we might leave him out, and the reason for that is because, well, we've got those Omnis in there, and that's a bit of a problem. And he's slow on his own. If we're playing a full elemental swarm and something like this, which you could do, maybe drop your Grendel Bs because the top end's too high, play 6 Jenna Cs and drop your Grendel Cs down. Might even do that in a minute and see what that looks like. You could tweak this and go for it, but I think Paul Moon is on the out. Now, one of the features of, and there is another version of this deck which I haven't done yet but I will do, is the recycling missions element. And we could, if we wanted, run a Rystar Mech Warrior or 2 to support our Star Commanders and recycle those missions. That would be quite nice. You could, if you wanted, run the Warrior Cast. Again, quite nice, because each of those pilots that you activate gives their bonus to the other pilots. Now, sorry, it gives it to each other unit you can, mech you control, until the end of turn, and that's very nice. If you activate a Star Commander, all your units get the +1 initiative and +2 attack. They do not get the reroll ability, because when you read Warrior Cast, also gives its attack and initiative bonuses. So if we play with the Star Commanders, that's +1/+2. If we play with our Rystars, that's +1/+1. On top of the mech, so let's just read that again, gives its bonuses to each other mech you control. So every unit, the one you put your pilot on, and all the other units get that same +1/+1, at least until the end of turn. And that's quite a nice finisher card in that respect. You can give everything a bonus across the board. If you can activate 2 together, that's just crazy, because you're giving it +2/+4 or +2/+3, which is pretty crazy. You could, if you wanted to use your think tank, play with Leo Showers. He provides politics. But the fact that he allows you to draw a card during your deploy phase is quite nice. If anything, we're a little short of units, so I think I would probably add a Jenna or 2 and maybe a Shadowcat or 2. And there's our deck. So we'll just review this. 2 Forged and 4 Riskies, like before. 2 Warrior Casts, which you could easily take out and substitute something else. If you don't like your Rystars in there and you want to go more units, you could drop these 2 and play Studied Moves to recycle your Riskies and your Forged, and then take your Rystars out. Rystars and Warrior Cast synergy versus Studied Move and more units, your choice. Some Jennas, 5 of those currently, 4 Grendel Bs, 3 Grendel Cs, 5 Shadowcat A's, 6 Shadowcat Primes. Our curve is possibly a little high. You might say we want to add a few more resources. Maybe you'd go back and take the think tank out and add another War Funds, because remember, War Funds gives us a temporary ramp, which might be useful with our Shadowcats, and then we're playing munitions and tactics like before. So how could we tweak this? Because that's the first version. How could we tweak this with a more aggressive elemental version? So what I would do here is I would get rid of those Grendels. I would probably drop those, not that way, drop those down a couple, probably 2 of those. Probably drop the Shadowcats a little, the other ones. And what we really want to do is get Paul in there. And we will also add nasty Blitz, which I can't spell. Blitzkrieg Elemental Points. Those are the updated ones. Have I put any of those? Let's take those out. I'll reuse the original ones, not the ones that people think are bad or better. And I would add a skirmisher or 2. 1, 2. Oops, come on, how many have got? 3 in there. I would probably drop the Rise Stars, and we need to add some logistics, and logistics early. So I would take my tactics down a couple, and I would add support and logistics. Where's the yellow one? Because then we can see them. I probably want 8 logistics and drop my munitions a little. I would take the think tank out, and I would add more war funds to give me that reliability. And there we have it, the elemental version. Oh, I take the warrior cast out. Don't necessarily need those as much. And maybe you put a studied move in. Maybe you put a Rise Star in there. Maybe that's a touch too much. Let's see what we've got. We've got 10 elementals, 16 with our Jenna, 20 with our Grendel and Shadowcat, 23 with our Shadowcat Prime. I think I would just add an extra Shadowcat or 2 and take out the studied move, and that would be roughly where we are. So this is Jump Jaguar, the elemental version. So let's just look at that in a bit more detail. 2 forged, 4 riskies like before, 4 star commanders like before. We have 6 blitzkrieg elemental points, 3 skirmishers and Paul Moons. You could, if you wanted, play berserks in there to help deal with big mechs. They work quite nicely. Our Jennas, which are going to be a little awkward because we cannot get our elementals onto those. We're going to get our elementals onto our Shadowcats or this Grendel, but maybe that's an option. Maybe we take the Jennas out and put the Grendel C in instead. But these can attack in pairs, and risky combat jump says unit, so we can use this on our skirmishers or our blitzkriegs or Paul Moon, whether they're being attacked or attacking, so we can use that way. Grendel coming out instead of the Jennas, I might be tempted, looking at that, to take out 3 Jennas, in fact maybe even 4 Jennas, and add our Grendel C's. Grendel C's not incredibly great. Just that 2 damage kind of makes it a bit of a pain. But the fact that they're Omni and all of a sudden our elementals are attacking at fast speed because they're with this Grendel C could well be worth it. You stick a star commander on here and attack with an elemental is a bucket load of hurt. Likewise with these, and then we've incorporated our logistics in order to get our 10 elementals on the table and playing munitions and tactics accordingly. Note that the tactics are only really needed for the star commanders, which is why we're running 5 of them. You might be able to push that to 4 with the War Funds, or Poor Moon as well. But generally, you can jump for initiative, so you don't need tactics in play, and you don't need Star Commander in order to be able to play a mission. So that's why that's slightly lower. There you go. Well, it's 2 for the price of 1. I thought it was going to be a simple jump Jaguar deck, and in fact, they've just changed it and played a load of elementals just for some fun. But they all jump as well, so much more bunny rabbits, hoppity all over the place. There you go. Short and sweet, nice and simple. Jump Jaguar. 2 versions for you to have a play and try with. If you like it, great. If you don't like it, don't play with it as anything else. If you've got any alternative mech choices or unit choices, please say so, and we can add those in and share those with the world, and we can go from there. But hey ho, but there you go. So give it a go, see what you think. If you like it, great. Play it, have fun. If not, don't worry about it. It's only a game. And I'll see you another day for another stream, hopefully when I've got a bit more time and can get things sorted out. But until then, take care of yourselves. See you soon.